If we were upfront, Huawei phones haven't always been the best of phones we've experienced lately, despite very promising software and hardware. Maybe because it feels like they're worlds apart from the rest of us that depend on Google. Wait a second. Is Google services back? Well, yes, but not in the way you would think. Huawei's app gallery finally found a way to include native Google apps since their departure all those years back, but more on that later. For now, we can simply appreciate good tech, as the Huawei Mate50 Pro could actually fall in that category of good phones of the year. Especially if we consider how it comes with all of your flagship essentials like a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset, a dazzling 50-megapixel main camera, plus a promising 64-megapixel telephoto lens, Huawei's rebranded XMAGE image engine, a massive 6.74-inch OLED display, and all of your Huawei-esque goodness packed into a familiar Mate series frame. All of that, plus possibly a vegan leather exterior? With the legacy of a Mate series, the Mate50 Pro is quite reminiscent of the older Mate 20 Pro with quad cameras at the back, but this time it seems to have grown in size. There's now a much bigger module which houses all of the cameras and has a really nice finish when you look closely. The ring surrounding the module has these fine carvings, and it's such a shame to hide under a phone cover before appreciating the details, while also feeling very comfortable in the hands, weighing approximately 209 grams. Even in this silver we have with us, it just blends well into the frame and glass. While it might not cause heads to turn like other Huawei designs we've seen before, if this color is a bit too plain for your liking, you could opt for their dual SIM model, which comes in this orange vegan leather. This just means it's likely made out of polyurethane instead of animal leather, and it comes at a hefty added premium if this design floats your boat. There's still quite a wide notch on the display, but considering the size of a 91.3% screen-to-body ratio, it won't actually bother you as much as you think. Just like every other notch design we've been used to seeing in the past, this would disappear to your eyes soon enough. Huawei's new drop protection glass, or Kunlun glass, which is made from 10 quadrillion level nanocrystals and scores a 5-star drop resistance rating, claims to be 10 times stronger than ever before. But somehow, a typical looking 6.74-inch curved OLED display might feel a little too boring by now, as though every iteration before this hasn't evolved much. It raises the sentiment of, oh please, not another curved screen. Yet oddly, it plays a big role in its overall design, and it just wouldn't look this good if it were done any differently. Perhaps it's always been a thing for Huawei to have good screens on their flagships. It's a good reminder of a feature we might have overlooked in previous models. Smart resolutions are available for a better viewing experience by amping up to maximum clarity, and 120Hz refresh rate allows the EMUI 13 interface to be a little more enjoyable, while 300Hz touch sampling rates should give you a competitive edge for first-person shooter games. The sound experience feels full of life, coming with stereo speakers which utilizes the earpiece as a second output. It might not be actual dual speakers, but playing music or watching content on this feels immersive and is one of the best we've experienced. Some lower-end notes can actually be heard, while speech-driven audio is very clear. We'd give it 5 stars if we could rate it for supporting up to 32-bit or 384kHz audio. Coming with 8GB of RAM, Snapdragon's 8 Plus Gen 1 and Adreno 730, our Geekbench test scores 944 for single core and 3624 for multi-core. While it may not break records nor high scores compared to other Androids we've tested in the past, it still handles like a flagship should, even while having countless apps running in the background. Graphics too manage an overall Vulkan score of 2735 and averages 16.4 frames per second. Temperatures might increase ever so slightly when put through its paces, but nothing too noticeable in real-life situations, like playing intensive rounds of Call of Duty or CarX Drift Racing 2. Banking on further developments seen in the Mate50 Pro are its cameras, coming with 50-megapixel f1.4 main camera, a 64-megapixel telephoto, a 13-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 40-megapixel monochrome camera. Supported by Huawei's rebranded XMAGE image engine from their previous XD Fusion, the dynamics are still quite similar to an earlier release this year, the P50 Pro. Results show better low-light performance and sharpness within each focal length, while also retaining more true-to-life colors and causing much less fringing thanks to computations that work hand-in-hand with that 40-megapixel monochrome camera. Some of these photo examples taken from 1x to 10x show very consistent outputs either in daylight or at night, though still having a little shutter shutter lag for faster moving objects such as pets. Video outputs topping at 4K at 60 frames per second also manages highlights very well, while dynamic range retains most clarity even at 10x zoom. Colors may shift when switching between focal lengths, but it still adapts to light sources very quickly to enhance overall usage. Low light conditions are impressive for showing little to no noise, and gyro EIS is improved to minimize warping effects, which sometimes can be seen while walking, but not in the case here. So yeah, take a bow Huawei for delivering us yet another solid camera build that makes the mobile photography experience a promising tool for average users and creators alike. But the headline news that swept most of the Southeast Asian regions at the launch of the Mate 50 series was having Google mobile services available through the Lighthouse app within Huawei's app gallery. So, how is this possible? Well, according to our media friends and some discoveries of our own, it seems that a third-party developer codenamed Skywalker created this solution as an open-source project to act as a secret key, allowing Huawei phones from 2021 onwards to gain access to Google services such as YouTube, Google Drive, Google Chrome, and many others. In a way, you could frame it as the new age jailbreaking we saw in iPhones a long time ago. But bear in mind, Lighthouse is currently only available to some Southeast Asian countries. Whether this solution will make it to other Western regions for the foreseeable future is still unknown. Further information on this scoop and the workarounds that made this possible can be found in the link in the description below. Whether or not this workaround sustains as a permanent solution is a little uncertain, while some GMS apps are still unavailable through Huawei's app gallery and would require APK files in order to gain access. Needless to say, this has been the most promising solution we've encountered so far, and we hope it stays. Battery life got us around a day and a half of casual use, coming with a 4700 mAh battery and a 66-watt supercharger, which should get you back to 100% under 30 minutes. The Huawei Mate 50 Pro comes with 8GB of RAM, 256GB of internal storage, and retails at 4,499 ringgit or 1,548 Singapore dollars. Our impressions on this phone shows a lot of promise in something that felt like a dire future for Huawei phones. While there is a sizable population of users that don't require GMS as their daily drivers, having the option to access native apps when you need it is still better than not having it at all. Aside from the high-performing cameras, beautiful display, high-quality speakers, all wrapped into a less exciting but decent overall design, the Huawei Mate 50 Pro is definitely one of the greats that were released this year, and we're ashamed that it wasn't introduced to us earlier. Perhaps there is a light at the end of the tunnel after all, and we can only give props to Huawei for weathering through the storm by creating an ecosystem that has worked to their advantage despite the adversities. To quote a few, it's not about how hard you hit, but it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. So, hats off to you, Huawei.